Facebook. And we are live on YouTube. Yes, we've got it to work. So we actually have the technology working this week, guys and girls and people and animals and whoever else is watching. Yes, I definitely think I need a better camera for the YouTube. Or I need a new laptop, one way or the other, or screen. So, anyway, viewers, let us know in the comments who's here on both YouTube and Facebook. We do have a little mascot that we have sitting in the corner. Let us know if you would like them to be introduced. So today, anyway, topic of today's conversation is narcissism, narcissistic tendencies, narcissism in itself as a narcissism person, red flags, recognizing red flags, anything you guys can think of as well. If there's something you want to maybe point out that I might be missing from personal experience of being around people like friends and seeing friends and family go through narcissistic situations, or knowing a narcissist and seeing how they treat people. Any comments about narcissism or narcissistic tendencies or anything you would like to comment about a situation, by all means leave a comment and I'll try not to skip over any. So, like most of us have probably come up against narcissistic tendencies. And like most of us, everybody has at some point in their life portrayed narcissistic tendencies. Because a narcissistic tendency can be something as being happy for yourself, or when something's, and you maybe go a little bit too far when you've done something that's well, or if you've done something that somebody else has done and then you start discussing more about yourself than about the person that's brought it up in the first place. So narcissistic tendencies is different to narcissistic or a narcissism person. And in all fairness, I was guilty of not knowing the difference. It wasn't until I actually spoke out to a counsellor, believing that an ex of mine had narcissism, that he had a narcissism personality, that he actually pointed out and said you have to be careful with saying that somebody is a narcissism or a narcissistic to somebody that just has narcissistic tendencies, that thinks about themselves a lot, that does a lot of stuff for themselves, right, and doesn't tend to think about the other person. Because a narcissist, but then after being with that person that had the narcissistic tendencies, I then got with somebody else afterwards and really realised what my counsellor was trying to tell me, because I ended up getting with somebody that was a narcissist. A narcissist will probably 90% and maybe more, not 100%, because you do get some of them will admit it, but a narcissist will 90% tell you, deny that they're a narcissist, or get very heartbroken when you tell them that you believe they're a narcissist. They'll not listen to reason. They'll not listen to basically anything, because in their mind, it's not them doing it. It's you. You've brought this on. You're the reason that they're doing it. They couldn't possibly act the way they act. I had my personal experience, the partner that had the narcissistic tendencies would never believe that there was a thing as reactive abuse. So he would push and giggle at me. His excuse was that when I get angry, I pull a face. And I can't see my own face. Perhaps I do. But he would know that it would annoy me to giggle at me or to laugh at me when I was more angry. It would make me worse. And so he would do that, which would annoy me more, which would make me react, which when I react, I get loud and I will put my hands up. I react. I find it hard to react quietly. If I react, everybody knows that I've reacted. Which leads down to the narcissism. So the narcissistic tendency was there, but a narcissist will push and take it that one bit further. They'll push and maybe they'll shout back, "Look what you're making me do! Look what you're doing! You're acting." So where the first partner would just smirk at me, make me react in that sense, and I would be like, "Stop shouting at me! Stop smirking at me! Stop doing this! Stop smirking at me! Don't smirk at me!" That's reactive. The second partner, he would make me react, but then he'd continue to level it up, and he would go, "Oh, now look, look, you're a psycho, you're this, you're going on like that, you're going on like this, and like I don't know wrong." That's the narcissism. So the narcissistic tendencies is a baseline, borderline, and they'll tend to stop. Narcissism won't. They will make you think you're crazy. They'll make you look like you're mental to everybody else. With me, I got to the point where I didn't want to be here with the narcissist. And that came to one of the worst days of mine, my parents, my children's life. Because with the narcissist, I've never never been a weak girl. Anybody that knows me on here will understand I've never been a weak girl. I've stood my ground. I've stood for everything I believe in. And with this narcissist, he broke me down so much that it almost ended my life. And it almost took my children's mother from them. It almost took my parents' daughter from them. It almost took everything because of this narcissistic person. Not the narcissistic tendency person. The tendencies, they go so far and stop. But the narcissistic person will grind you down to the point you no longer want to be here. You can't sit and think that this will get better. And the words will come out the mouth of this is why I've done this, and you did this, so I did this, and I only done this because you did this. That light's a bit bright. But it will never get better, because as long as they know that you're willing to give them that second chance, to give them that third chance, to give them that fourth chance, they are never going to see that their actions is what's causing the problems. They'll always see just a person that they can manipulate, a person that they can get their own way with, a person that they can do whatever they want to do and make that person believe it's their fault. I had the narcissistic person was checking my phone. I don't know how he was checking my phone. I really don't know how he was checking my phone. I've got PIN numbers and I've got fingerprints on my phone. And at this point, I don't know how he was checking my phone. I'm assuming, because my PIN number is quite simple, that he'd remembered it. I can't remember giving him it, but he'd remembered it. Not that I had anything to hide. I mostly have PIN numbers and fingerprints on in case I either leave my phone around when my nieces and nephews are around, or leave my phone in the car, or drop it out of the car when I'm getting in and out. So it's not that I had anything to hide. So if he'd asked us to give him the phone, I would have given the phone and put my fingerprint or whatever. But he would get into my phone and make arguments out of stupid little things. If I'd spoken to a friend that I've known for absolutely years, just because they happen to be male, he would kick up a fuss. He'd make a mountain out of a molehill. And it was always when something nice was supposed to happen. So when something good was supposed to occur, we would end up in an argument right beforehand, because then he could play the game. He could play his game where he'd be nice, and then he'd torture me. Then he'd be nice, then he'd torture me, then he'd be nice. And you look forward to those nice parts. And it's like, oh, it's nice again. When it's nice, it's lovely. He's the best person in the world. And everybody has their moments. Everybody has their times and has those arguments and stuff like that. And these are the thoughts that goes through your head. Everybody has those moments. But when things are bad, they are extreme. For me, anyway, they were extreme when they were bad. And I know cases where they've been worse than what mine was. He would accuse me of sleeping around. He would accuse me of doing whatever. To lo and behold, he was actually the one sleeping around, and he was the one that was doing whatever it was that he was accusing me of. So yeah, like I said, we all have, every person has tendencies. Every person has a narcissistic tendency. How we portray that narcissism emotion, how we control that narcissism emotion, and whether we allow it to get stronger or grow, or that's what makes it become narcissistic tendencies and full-blown narcissism. Moving on to looking out for red flags of narcissism. There's a fair few red flags for narcissism and narcissistic tendencies as well, to be fair. For me, I should have seen the flags, and especially considering the childhood and lifestyle I had watching my mum grow with the partners that she had. And it's amazing how these flags do get past somebody that's had the lifestyle that I had, because they literally convince you that this is not happening. This would never happen to you. You're too strong for that. It wouldn't fly. You'd see the flags if it happened. At least that's what I thought anyway. And then the thoughts go, but it's not physical. There's no physical stuff there. So it can't be that bad, because he's not beating me up every day. He's not drinking every day. He's not taking drugs all the time. So surely life can't be that bad. I'm just overreacting. If you're doubting yourself that much to believing that you're overreacting and this is how it's okay for this, that's a major, major red flag. Major red flag. You are ignoring your survival instinct. You're ignoring your own emotion. You're ignoring your own mind. That's a major red flag within yourself. Red flags don't have to be within the narcissist or the other person. They could be within yourself. You're ignoring your own instincts. That is a major red flag was for me. that I should have taken notice of, that I ignored my own instincts and the instincts of everybody around me. I ignored the instincts of my children. I ignored the instincts of my partner, my friends, my parents, especially when I went back the second time. When we split after a major altercation, and I was basically tortured for over 24 hours. I had people really trying to talk me down from going back with this person. Really trying to say, look, Lisa, are you sure this is like what you want? This is... And again, looking back, I don't know how I ignored myself. Anybody else, if I was looking on from the outside, I would have told them the same. Run a mile. Run and don't look back. This man is dangerous. And listening back to the video recording that I had, because I took a audio recording, and if I listen back and you sit and wonder why I went back, why did I stay? Why did I ignore that sort of... Why would I let somebody talk to me like that and then just go back to it? And reason being, he'd convinced me that it was acceptable the way he reacted. He reacted because of something that I apparently did, which was before we'd even gotten together, to be fair. But he'd reacted to something that I'd done before we got together. And that was acceptable. It was an acceptable reaction for him to torture me, to use my fears against me, to destroy me in one night. And then it just came back to, well, I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't done this. I wouldn't... That's not the person I am. I'm not that person. You made me that person. If you hear that is a red flag. If you are genuinely changing a person to make them worse than what they are, run, leave. Because either you're bad for them, and that's not a relationship, it's a poisonous relationship to be in, or you have a narcissist on your hands, which is not a good relationship to be in. If the only thing you should be hearing from your partner in that sense is, you make me a better person, you make me the best person that I could possibly be, you you make me want to be a better man or a better woman or a better person. It should never hear the words coming from your partner, I am like this because of you. I am worse because of you. Red flag. If you make them worse, then leave. If you make them worse, don't stick around. Don't stay in a relationship where you make each other worse. Especially because that's probably a narcissist you're dealing with. I know that when you're dealing with watching, such as Friends, because when you're on the outside looking in, red flags for, like, there's so many differences that you see in a friend or family member or in a child. I mean, the ones that would have seen my live last week, we touched a little on narcissist with grooming and how groomers are narcissists potentially. Which they are in a sense, because a groomer will believe that they can treat or lure in children, or, I mean, it's not always children, but mostly children. And by telling them things that they think they want to hear. And that is the exact same way that a narcissist will bring in it, lure in their partner or lure in someone close to them and manipulate and get what they want. Now, from a friend watching and a friend or a family member being on the outside looking in, they from a family member watching, I know it, from what I've spoke to my friends and my family and the way I was, and from me watching some of my friends that's been dealing with narcissistic people, and me being on the outside, I was one of the ones that stood there saying, "Oh, I could never deal with that. I could never get with somebody like that. I could never sit there. Why would you go back with them? Why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself?" And then I went through myself. And even now, I'd sit there and go, never again. Not ever again. I know enough of them. I know enough flags. I know enough this. I know enough. But it's the manipulation that'll always be there of how they get round you, how they show you exactly what you want to see. Now, my friends and family were my friends and my family seen a huge change in me. Like I say, anybody that may be on the live or may catch up later knows how I normally am. I'm quite a strong person. I'm quite strong-minded. If I want something, I'll go for it. If I meet somebody, once I know them, I'll be quiet at first, but once I know them, I'm quite bubbly and I'm just out there and I'll say whatever was in my mind. Half the time I've got foot in mouth and don't think. It comes out before I think. With this narcissism. So with the person that I was with that had the narcissistic tendencies, it was strange with that person because we got together when I was quite in a bad mental place to start with. And he uplifted me at first and he did everything I wanted him to do. He was brilliant with the girls. He was good with me. We got along great. And to be fair, we got along great the majority of the time. But we had our moments. And then further down the line, things started getting that little bit more tense. Things started changing. He wasn't as attentive as he was at the beginning. He was very set back, unless he wanted attention and comfort and stuff like that, it didn't really occur for him to give it without reason. So I would have to ask him to say I love you. I'd have to engage in him giving kisses or cuddles or chilling out together or making plans together or anything like that. I would have to push that first. And it was draining that I would have to do that, and that it would always be his sort of way, as much as to say it's always the woman's way. And they'd probably going back, even now, if you talk to them, they'd probably go, no, it was always their way. I wish it was always my way, because it would have been sat on the couch cuddling up every night he was with me. But anyway, so, and then the phones, the secretive, that's another thing with narcissism, the secrets, the phones turned upside down, because they'll get you with that one. My phone's always out where you can see it, but the screen's turned upside down so you can't see it. And they'll leave it upside. They might go to the toilet with it on, with it in their pockets, which I had that one, or they'll leave it lying around so they can use it as a leverage, which is more of the narcissism than the narcissistic tendencies person. They'll leave it upside down, but you don't know the passcode, so you don't know how to get into it. But they can have the passcode to your phone, but you can't have the passcode to theirs. Because what's the point? You don't need the passcode to theirs, apparently. So anyway, with as much as I was draining myself, I was still quite bubbly. I was still quite outgoing, and I was still with the narcissist, the full-blown narcissist. My friends, my family, my children, my daughter was ready for moving 2 hours away from me because she did not like the person I'd become. And she did not like the person I was with. And she was ready for leaving home. And before yous come for me, people, I did not put him before my daughter. My daughter is still quite at home, as you seen last week. She's still at home. We do not have nothing to do with that guy anymore. So don't come for me yet. I'm sure there's other stories down the line you can come for us about. But yes, my friends seen huge changes in me. I would barely talk. I'd barely say 2 sentences. If they messaged, one friend in particular noticed a huge change. If they messaged, I'd give one-word answers. I'd give, yeah, I'm okay. No, just been cleaning. No, not been up to much. Very short, very vague answers. I wouldn't really get into conversations. I wouldn't go on my games and do my gaming. I'd basically sit and be with him. And as much as I enjoyed the comfort and the cuddles, and which he knew that. He knew I enjoyed the comfort. He knew I enjoyed the cuddles. He knew that I like the romance of a relationship. And he played it because then I didn't have contact with the outside world. I didn't have contact with my friends. I didn't have contact with my family barely. My children were always upstairs out the way. So it was just him. It basically cut me off from everyone. He found problems with the people I was around. He found problems with what I was, if I went to the gym by myself, if he found problems with everything and would make an argument out of it. And by doing this, my parents seen a lack of who I was, not seeing them as much, not doing the things that I would normally do, enjoying the time that I would normally enjoy with my mum, taking her shopping. They seen a massive, massive change in me. When I would go see my mum, she pointed out a few times and pointed out after. When I would go see my mum, half the time I'd end up in tears for one reason or another. I'd be crying. Whether sometimes it was just because something had been said and I couldn't take it. I couldn't stand the interaction. So there's the distance, and that's a massive change. The lack of communication, stepping back from everybody, the appetite, not eating, barely sleeping, which I barely sleep to start with, but just basically not looking well. Apparently, this is the things that I got told, that I just didn't look well. I mean, I probably don't look well at the moment because I've not got my lighting right this week. And I don't know why, unless it's because I'm on the computer this time and not the phone. I get one technology sorted and something else occurs. Lighting's okay on YouTube, but it's fuzzy. Clear picture on Facebook, but I've got a lighting issue. Cannot win. So, yes. We need a counter on how many times I said so, yes. Okay. I do apologise for that. My cat has just fell off the radiator. and landed on a bag. Of all the times they choose to go fall off radiators, it's because she sleeps on the radiator cover. In fact, all of them do. But they sleep on the radiator cover and then roll over and fall off. 9 times out of 10, it's the male or the younger female. The older female never does it. The other two, the daft ones, they do. But back to the stories. If there's anybody in, can you just comment to let me know? Because my viewers is telling me that there's nobody actually viewing me. And I'm just talking to myself. Me, myself, and I. Same as YouTube. Anybody on YouTube, could you drop a message and let me know that you're there? Because it's saying that there's nobody there apparently on YouTube. So yes, I've known people to have red flags, such as them having to have every password, having to watch everything they do, have trackings on their phones, checking in every time where they've got to be, what they're doing, how long they're going to be there, how long they're going to be out the house, how much money they're allowed to take, or how much money they're allowed to spend. Thank you, Rhiannon. So I've just been informed there is actually some people watching me. So thank you for whoever's watching. For some reason, my viewer icon is telling me that nobody's watching and I'm just talking to myself. So yes, if there's another one. I mean, I'm sure there's many of stories that it would have been fabulous if we could have gotten some people to tell their stories as well, or their views of narcissism and how they seen others go through it. But if you do find yourself in that sort of situation, it's not a very nice one to be in. It's not a one that is easy to get out of. But ask for help if you can't. If you can't do it on your own, people will help. If you find it hard to recognize certain flags, certain aspects of what's going on, if you think you might be in a narcissism or with a narcissism, or might be a narcissist yourself, get help or ask for help. A narcissist can always go to doctors, explain why they think they're a narcissist, and then could possibly refer themselves to their local counsellors. I know for where I am as Talking Changes, I think I can't remember who Hartlepool's is. And there's some others kicking around. There's always private ones as well if you don't want to go through NHS. And you do have the money to go private. Unfortunately, I didn't. But if you do find yourself in a narcissist relationship that is constantly bringing you down, or you need help to get out of it, speak to somebody that to help you. Speak to someone you know will listen, someone you know will help you get out of it, that won't be biased. You can always welcome to message on this account or jump over to the actual Speaking Out Fearlessly account. You're welcome to jump over on there and drop a message. I keep saying we, but it's me. I can talk you through anything that you might want to speak about. I'm here to listen. I'm here to share. Like I said previously on my introduction, I'm here to help you heal while I heal. We share our stories. We share our visions of what we have been through. And hopefully we can deal with the wonders of the world, the wonders of a human mind and human emotions, and how everything just happens, I suppose. So with that, I'm going to let you go have your tea. I know we are a day early, but I have some friends coming tomorrow. My bonus brother and my bonus mum is coming down from Scotland tomorrow, which we cannot wait to see. Again. So I couldn't do the live tomorrow. It had to be today. Either that or you weren't getting the live this week. Anyway, we will introduce you to our mascot, which obviously anybody that knows me has to be a panda. With his little headset on. His little headset with pandas. This is our mascot. And we would, for our next live, we would like you to drop some names on the 6th of November is our next live. So by the 6th of November, we'd like you to drop some names in the comments on either YouTube or Facebook or DM or, well, private message. And we are going to pick the name out of the hat to name our little mascot and see what name he or she gets called. And that will be next week. Next week's, positive. Next week's is a hospital one. Excuse me for a second. It has been a busy week. And I don't even know if I have the right book. That's marked off in the wrong place. Well, I didn't have the right book. I'm sure it is malpractice next week. I have so many books for so many different things. But I don't know where I've put my list. I was positive it was in this one. Yes, it was. First book. The first book I had in my hand, and it was in that one. So, the 6th of November, next week, is discussing malpractice and false diagnosis and continuity of care. So that will be our next week's, as well as naming our mascot. So make sure to drop those names. And if you would like to join us for the next week's live, which is, like I've just said, malpractice and false diagnosis, make sure to drop a like and a follow, share the page, jump over to YouTube, subscribe, like, and press the bell for notifications, and then drop us a message and tell us why you would like to be on next week's chat about malpractice. I hope to get some more people on and talking live with us. If you do not want to show your face, but you would like to talk live, that is absolutely fine. You can more than welcome to keep your camera off or put something over the screen and just use your voice. That is absolutely fine. We are not going to force anybody to show their face. We are not going to force anybody to do anything that we wouldn't do ourselves. And I said we, as in me. So I am going to jump off here now. I'm going to let you go have your tea, and I'm going to have mine. I'm Lily, and I will speak to you next week about malpractice. Bye.